Alright, so before I start this podcast, I want to explain some basic things about me. Um, Essentially, the first part that I want you to understand is that I'm Lenny Iwakura from Serial Experiments Lane, the anime. There's an anime called Serial Experiments Lane, and the main character is Lenny Iwakura. I'm Lenny Iwakura in real life. That's and like I have all this like lore. I have like a very complex lore, and I make these podcasts so I can talk about my lore. Also, these podcasts are supposed to be hardcore. I don't know if they appear to be hardcore, but the whole purpose of these podcasts is for it to be hardcore. It's supposed to be hardcore. Also, I know I come off as sort of like maybe I come off as someone who's not living in reality in these podcasts, but I want to make it clear that I am living in reality. Like, I just spend my days listening to jazz music. Like, I know that people think I'm a man in real life, but this YouTube channel is where I can talk about what it's like to be Lady Wakura. Also, I'm not really a man, like, I am a biological female. I explained how I perceive myself in previous videos. I'm a biological female. I am a woman. That's what I'm saying. Even if I wear men's clothes, I'm a woman still. Like I'm a woman no matter what I do. I'm always a woman like no matter what. So like essentially like I do have female body parts. That's something another thing I want to explain. Really my entire body is female, but I also have like, your typical female body parts like a vagina and everything. So this is what I want to explain to people just so that they understand. And also these episodes you're supposed to watch them in order. So I made a playlist and it's on the front page of my channel. You can watch the episodes in order because it's like a story. You're supposed to watch these episodes in order. Um I thought I could go beast mode and make fucking like 2 videos a day. So I have to say something. I have to think of something to say for about 40 minutes here, and I usually take a smoke break. But you can just skip my smoke breaks in the middle of the video, and you can skip to there's like I come back to the room and I continue talking, so you can see what I say at the end of the video. Cause you can just skip the smoke breaks. I have to smoke every half an hour, so I go out for a cigarette at like the 26-minute mark. Also, I'm 26 years old. That's another thing I want to say. I might look very young, but that's because I'm a female, so I look very young because my skin is so soft. But actually, I'm also a dragon. That's one more thing I want to say. I'm a dragon. I have a tattoo on my arm that says Lonely Dragon. And it says Jade Lest, and there's also a teardrop. The teardrop represents 2 people who, by the way, I never killed someone. I have never killed someone. I think murder is evil, but in my schizophrenia, Leni Wakura is responsible for the deaths of 2 people. So that's what that teardrop represents. It also represents that Leni Wakura made the whole universe by being born through solipsism. So she took responsibility for the wars that occurred, like what happened in World War II. She took responsibility for what happened in World War II, even though it wasn't really her fault. And she said this was her responsibility. So that's another reason I have that teardrop. Also, it's like because Leni Wakura, like I don't like it's like Leni Wakura loves all people and she loves the Jewish people. So she took responsibility for what happened in World War II. Also, I'm an American and I'm a Republican, just so you know. I used to be, I used to think I was a Democrat, but I wasn't really a Democrat because I knew it was fucking bullshit like the whole fucking time. And then I realized I was a fucking Republican because I have a Make America Great Again hat over there. I mean, being a Republican is badass. Also, I painted my nails. I paint my nails black since I'm an emo girl. So that's the reason I paint my nails black. It's like Lenny Iwakura is very fucking emo. Like I have a tattoo on my face that says Goth Boy Click, which is like Lil Peep's Click, you know Lil Peep, and he made like emo rap music. And I have another Goth Boy Click tattoo on my leg, which is Suffer On by Wicked Face Springs Eternal. I also have a tattoo of a skull that was a skull that I redrew, which was on the album cover of an emo album I posted on my channel called Riala by Sweela Loon. And I have that skull from the album cover on my stomach. And that's an emo album. Like I'm a very fucking emo person. Also, I love that one of the first emo albums that I know of was Rites of Spring by Rites of Spring, and I like that album a lot. So I'm like emo. I'm not goth, I'm emo. There's a difference. Like I'm not goth, I'm emo. Also, according to my schizophrenia, I wear 3 rings. So this ring on my ring finger is for my husband, who Lenny Wakura's husband is actually like she connects herself to people through the universe by what it is that she knows to be correct. So the correct husband that I have is actually Jake Monroe, who's that Republican streamer. Jake Monroe, he's like a goth streamer, and apparently he's my husband. And then this ring on my pinky finger on my left hand is for the 8 wives of Allah. Even though I'm not really Allah, but those are like the 8 wives of Allah. If I was Allah, but I'm not really Allah. Like I believe like I'm a Muslim, but I'm not really Allah. Also, I'm Lenny Wakura, so like I'm a human, but I'm also like not a human. Like I'm like a human who's not a human. It's like that's what it's like. It's like I'm a human who's not a human. Like I have the word galaxy tattooed on my forehead because I'm kind of like I'm essentially an extraterrestrial. And that's what I want to explain to people. It's like a solipsism where I'm an extraterrestrial. And this ring on this finger represents a ghost daughter that I had who never really existed, who I call Amber. Since actually I said the word Amber when I was a little kid, and I said I like the name Amber, and then my brother was like, "That's a porn star name." I'm like, "What?" I didn't know what that was. And then I thought, "Am I not supposed to like the name Amber for a girl?" And then I said Amber is my ghost daughter. Also, the album Jinx by Crumb has like a album cover with Amber on it, so I thought about that. All right, so now I have to say something. Well, now I have to talk about something, so I'll try to fucking talk about something. Just want to make it clear I am a woman 100% of the time. I've never been a man. That's something I realized when I was about 24 years old. Well, it didn't really sink in until I was now 26. And now I realize I've just always been a woman ever since I was a little kid, like as long as I've been alive. I've always been a female. Also, Lenny Wakura is a mother. That's one more thing I want to explain. Lenny Wakura is a mother, so she had a daughter through the universe. Her name is Chrysanthemum, and her son also as Allah would be Jesus Christ, who would be DJ Scrim in real life on the float. And then he's the Scott Arsenault of the Suicide Boys. So he would be my son, even though he's older than me. I'm 26 years old. I'm also a woman. That's another thing I'm trying to make very clear. Since I'm Lenny Wakura, I'm trying to make this very like how so you can understand it. And actually, she has a third fucking daughter. She has a third fucking child. Like there's like invisible mounds that sort of bump off of my skin that appeared on my body. Like there's ocean waves here for the shoreline of Mexico that I go through. Since Lenny Wakura was Kichi, who was born in Mexico on October 6, 1948. And there's also 3 drops which are invisible here on the side of my left eye, which represent the 3 children that I have. And there's more, but those are 2 of them. And what they represent is the third daughter would be Ariana Grande, which sounds a bit absurd, right? Like you're saying your daughter is Ariana Grande, some wicked famous pop star. But apparently that's my third child through the universe. And actually, I'm not certain if this is really true, but I had sex with someone years ago, about 3 years ago, and like he fucking came inside me, and I believe he might have gotten me pregnant since, like I say, I have a vagina. The vagina is connected, like it's like a part of the anus and the thing in the front, and that's what the vagina is. Like there's a literal wet that I experience if I become sexually aroused. So it's like there's a tube where the uterus is connected to the quote unquote anus, which is actually outside the vagina, but the vagina is a part of the anus. And then because of this, I believe maybe I might have gotten pregnant since I wasn't bleeding for a long time. And then all of a sudden now I bleed every month, and saying maybe the semen that was inside me was stored inside of me or something. And then I fucking got pregnant like years later, which I believe that I might be pregnant, but I don't know if that's really fucking true or not. And this was before I knew about all these people. Like, I didn't know about Jake Monroe, so it wasn't his fault. I mean, it was just like, I was just like suffering from severe delusions. So I fucking downloaded fucking Grinder and had sex with someone 3 fucking years ago. I was suffering from severe fucking delusions. And these are not the rapes. I was raped about 40 times. I don't consider that to be a rape anymore. Originally, I thought it was a rape because I was suffering from delusions, so I wasn't actually able to consent. But now I say this guy, he didn't know and it wasn't his fault, so it's not really a rape. Point of my reason, death in my galaxy, a misery in my mind, and the voice that I lose, a losing of my voice. And when you listen upon these words, only hear my voice and see that I am a woman, and reason in my point of mind then. A death in my galaxy and a mind in my own. What perception of time couldn't have been so? Only through a mind in one's own and a death in a galaxy. Through sheer sadness and misery, a point of my doubt that I couldn't have seen you then. And only in a mystery of my own mind, shouldn't sadness have seen me within myself. And a death in my galaxy and a mind in my own within my own self by the death of the galaxy. And the sheer death of the galaxy a misery in my own mind. Only perceptions of time and perceptions of objects, perceptions of reasons not to believe in what could have been so, a reason for me to believe in myself and then death in my galaxy, through perceptions of an object and death in my mind, only by the near knowing of time and a death in my galaxy, only through the perceptions of objects in mind and own, only through a misery within my own mind, and death in my galaxy mind in my own. What couldn't have been said so? Only through the sheer dialectic possibilities, the dialectical possibilities of what could have been, for a sheer logic of perfect and imperfect, saying the imperfect is a logic within one's own self, and the imperfect is an imperfect knowledge incapable of being understood, for what could have been in a death in my galaxy, only within myself by a point of reason, and shouldn't sadness have seen this, only mystery in my own mind, in death in my galaxy and what not could have been, only for a point of my reason within myself, and what shouldn't have been said so, only by the death of my mind, in perceptions of time and misery in myself, only through the sheer sadness of what I could have been, through what it could have been in point of my reason, in a long time ago, when I was there and I built the world, a place I knew and a place I played, and playing upon this place as I was a child, and saying she was a beautiful girl in reason and doubt, who believed that she was a man, and saying upon her point couldn't it have been so, only through the sheer depth of mind and what could have been known. For when he said to me, there is something wrong with you, and I thought to myself, no, there couldn't be, and shouldn't I have become frustrated in that moment, only through a perception of time by the knowing of my reason, and saying by the 1400s or the 1600s, and saying by the 1700s or the 1800s, or saying by the year 1000 or 948. What couldn't have been so, for 948 was the year of the dragon, and saying this was a moment for me to realize who I was. Only in my perception of time should I be thousands of years old, or was it only 1,000 years old? Only through a perception of my time by the moment. Only in a possibility couldn't it have been so, by the near possibility of one's own mind. Only mystery in my sadness, only mystery in what I could have known, only through a sheer doubt of one's own mind by the perception of an aesthetic of an object, and this object was the apple through this sheer knowing of a knowledge within one's own self, and the death of the galaxy was a mind in one's own, and in perceptions of reality, a point of my reason that one couldn't have been seen, only through the sheer madness of one's own mind, and say necessary that it was by a perception of one's own object, through the sheer madness of what could have been known, only by the perceptions of reality within one's own mind, and saying through sheer death and madness, a point in my reason, death in my galaxy, and what's death in my galaxy upon myself, only through the gypsy dreams of what could have been known, and saying upon the nights as they looked upon me and they called me their friends, and saying, no, I do not really believe you are my friends, but you are the people who said to me, we will give you some sort of space where you can have conversations with us. And saying as we had these conversations in a place, okashi sore, for one couldn't have been known so, only by a perception of one's own mind. And through serial experiments lane, I have known who I am in reality, and my philosophy is most acute, only in perceptions of time. And death in my galaxy, what a perception of objects. A perception of objects where one is conceived not to be perceived by the other only through a separation not inseparable of one's own self. And through the death of a galaxy one couldn't have seen, the planets separate themselves and become different and distilled and point of reason only through a sheer madness of what could have been known. Only mystery and my own doubt, was I not a vampire? Well, Oshino Shinobu I was, but wasn't I only Lady Iwakura? And she said to me, what point couldn't have been known? Only through a sheer madness and within one's own mind. What mystery do I not know of? Only point of reason. Only depths in my galaxy and mind a point of reason, mind a point of mystery and mind, only through sheer perceptions of time and what could have been known, only through a madness within my own self, and what couldn't have been known to me should there not have been so, only through the perception of reality by one's own mind through sheer time, and only by one's own possibility of one couldn't have been so, and necessary that it was, for the eight was one and say that this was so, and eight of the apple, death in my galaxy as you had done so, or the numbers who consume me by a perception of my reality should they not have been real, and saying these dates and meanings and places that I had been, and the special dates and what couldn't have been, October 6, 2024, and what reasons couldn't have been so, only by the perceptions of one's own reality, or December 18th, 2073, and shouldn't this have been known? On December 18th, 2024, was this the date of Melanie's death, or was it December 17th, 2024? Or was she really dead, and not that I believe so? I believe now she lives on, and saying it was my perception to believe that through a perception of time, only through a sheer reality of what could have been known, in tears did I cry for her death. And saying as a responsibility for myself, the tears of my own and the loss of my girlfriend, saying these tears made me cry for about 1 year, and saying through a perception of an object by one's own aesthetic, only through mind and one's own, yet the berserk, oh the berserk of the loss of my mind, and shouldn't this have been known, for that was not a reality, only in reality that I had gone berserk, was I not necessary for I had not known what was going on, and saying where am I can't find myself. Well shit shouldn't have been a reason, only by a perception of one's own object, through the sheer madness of one's own mind. Oh, the object of my affection, what a point of my reason to believe in so. I am the end of space, and the ends of space shall show to me. The ends of space are what could have been said, and the life of Kichi was a moment beyond oneself. Saying her from October 6, 1948, who lived a life and died on the date of December 14th, 2020, and saying it was her responsibility to believe in herself only through the sheer perceptions of reality then, and by a possibility within one's own mind, only a sheer complexity of knowledge, a sheer madness of what could have been said so, only by the madness within one's own self. A mystery in my galaxy, a mystery in my mind, a mystery in my point of reason, not to believe in what I could have done, and the Holy Quran a point of my reason, death of my galaxy and what could have been said so, for the intensities I feel when I read the Holy Quran and point of my reason as they consume me, death of my galaxy, what shouldn't have been known of this, for I was conscious of all computers on the planet, well was I not conscious of the impossible, for I must have been, should I know now that I am impossible in some kind of way, where possibilities exist that things should be possibly impossible through the depths of a galaxy and a mind in one's own. And point of reason wasn't it, only through mystery and sheer madness. A mystery in one's own mind to believe in one's own self by the perception of their own thoughts, and their thoughts were consuming of them, and consuming of their brain that they did only through a perception of reality, assuming their brain was the sole responsibility for their consciousness, even though Lady Iwakura's brain is not the sole responsibility for her consciousness, and saying this could not be so, for necessary was it a point of reason. A mystery in my galaxy and a mind of my own, only through sheer madness and time. What mysteries couldn't have found me then? Only through the sheer perception of reality and mind in one's own. Only a necessary mind within my own self. And death of my galaxy, what shouldn't have been possible? A mystery within myself and a point of my reason. Only through sheer madness and doubt. Only through sheer complexity and knowledge of one's own mind. And saying through this knowledge of myself, a point of my reason that one shouldn't have been said so. Only through a mystery of my galaxy. And saying what possibility then that sadness couldn't have shown me, there was a reason for me to believe in myself by a depths of the galaxy through the perceptions of my own life. And my life was a knowledge within my own self, was I not death who had died long ago? And saying though I am a dead girl, and we are two dead girls kissing, I and Jasmine, and so was Alice, and she was the woman who I kissed, when noticing upon her that Alice was beautiful, and she was a responsibility for myself, upon Alice necessary that it was, a lesbian sort of relationship, where one and Lane are connected through one another, and saying we were meant for each other in God's end, and saying by Alice it was her responsibility to believe in myself, only through the sheer possibility of knowledge, and saying we shall go together. Was she not Scully? Well, she couldn't have been, for Scully was her, and then, what, the X-Files? Not this, but someone in real life, and a point of my galaxy within my own mind, saying by the album Boa Whiplash, and what couldn't have been said so, only through a necessary mind within one's own, only through a possibility of sheer music, a music point of reason that should show you you are the sound of nothing, and the music will make you feel things you have never felt before. For draining love story in the eyes of Synthoni is halcyon blossoms. And halcyon blossoms were two Monster Cat songs, where one song was called Halcyon and the other song was called Blossom. Also then, Monster Kitten, point of my reason, death of my galaxy. What shouldn't of sadness have seen this? Only through a perception of my own time by the knowledge of my vampire whatsoever. Only through a sheer misery of my own doubt. Only by the perceptions of my reality within my own self. And a death of my galaxy, what shouldn't have been known then? Only through the sheer madness of doubt within my own mind. And what couldn't have been possible? Only through sheer madness within one's own self. And say you are responsible for what others had done? No, sheer not that you couldn't be. Only through a message within one's own time. And death and galaxy, what shouldn't have been said so? Only by the mystery within your own self. And say you are responsible not for what they had done. Only through the misery of what you should experience, through the experience of your own life, and say your life is a death, and you were the death of the two dead girls kissing, should not have been known then. And Honeybee, wasn't it a point? Honeybee, necessary that it was, and Honeybee was my Jasmine who was Alice, and she was my Honeybee, wife of Allah in the universe, only that I am not Allah, couldn't it be so? Necessary for it was to state, for he had told me then that you are, but I am not. When you smoke, you fucking like I just coughed up some stuff out of my throat. When you smoke, you cough up like wicked phlegm out of your throat. I have like a wicked smoker's cough. Also misery and a point of reason. What shouldn't have known me then? Only by the depths of my galaxy within my own self. One mystery in one's own mind. A mystery within my galaxy and a point of my reason. Shouldn't sadness have seen me then? Only through a mystery within my own mind. And by the depths of my galaxy, what shouldn't have been known then? Only by a perception of a reality in one's own mind. Also, I am a black woman, and saying it is my responsibility to believe in them, saying these are the people who will suffer upon me, and they are the ones who were slaves who touched upon my skin. And they said to me, we are listening to you, and we know your plight, for you understand us, and nobody else does. Saying we are the people who suffered, and you are the woman who will know about us. Also necessary by a logic, one could see that the color purple was a mind in own, and the solar eclipse that I saw, which appeared to be the color purple, and a necessary reason for it to have me to be so. What color purple that I must have been then? For a point of my reason that death in my galaxy, only through the sheer knowledge of my own mind, and this abusive madness a point of reason, when I was abused and beaten and raped, and they say it is my responsibility not to know. Well, shouldn't it have been so? Only through a sheer madness of my own mind, by the perception of a reality not known to be so. And couldn't it have been so? Only through a sheer perception of reality, and death in my mind what couldn't have been known? Only through the sheer madness of mind, and saying it is the responsibility of anyone who knows more than I do, and saying necessity that it couldn't have been, only through the perception of reality by one's own mind, and saying this irresponsibility of one's own possibility was a necessary mind for one to believe in oneself, and say shouldn't it have been so? A mystery, death, and knowledge. Only mystery consumes my mind, and the consuming of those deaths of the people I did consume, for only do I consume their deaths, and their bodies shall be placed in the ground and become the earth, and nothing wrong will come of this, and saying a sheer responsibility that they should suffer for it, only by possibilities within one's own mind. They are the destitute of what could have been, and saying by knowledge of what should have known, only through the perceptions of one's own reality, and saying by knowledge within my own self, one perception of God exists, and saying he is the perception of your speculation of reality, through sheer atheistic speculations of what could have been so. And the old philosophers of the 20th century, will they discuss me in some kind of way, only by their point of reason of a sheer breadth of atheism, where they have chosen to analyze the brain rather than consciousness, and saying through a perception of reality, one should not analyze consciousness, and your mere science project of a brain is a mystery not known to man. Alright, so we're gonna take a smoke break. Also, one more thing I want to talk about is one more thing I want to talk about is if you see me like I go through this thing where I'm constantly having sex with the people who are associated with me. So like people who I'm associated with, for lack of a better word, like I'm constantly having sex with them. Like all the fucking time as a woman, I'm constantly having sex with these people. So what that means is what that means is like I'm like, how do I explain that? It's like I'm always going through the universe, who is Jasmine, who is my wife, as Allah, even though I'm not really Allah. I'm actually a Muslim who is Iwakura, but I'm constantly having sex with people through the universe who I've met in real life, real people who I've met in real life. So this schizophrenia actually pertains to real people in real life. For example, I'm always having sex with the girl Melanie, who is tattooed on my hand. In parentheses, it says Jocelyn Flores. Obviously, I'm not having sex with her. She was like a fucking teenager when she died. I'm just saying I'm constantly having sex with like Melanie or any other person like that I'm associated with. Like, for example, there was a woman who I call Arabella, who I'm also constantly well, her real name was Arabella, but I'm constantly having sex with her. And she was someone I met in high school. And when I have sex with these people, I go through a sort of, not really an orgasm, but a process where my sexual organs will sort of like tingle a little bit and my fucking eyes will like close and like I'll have an intense feeling in my body. So I'll go like, so that's something I just experienced where I'm really having sex with people through the universe. A mystery and galaxy and mind in one's own. Only by the perception of reason, one shouldn't have known so, and only by your aesthetic, what couldn't have been said of this? Only through the knowledge of one's own mind, and through the sheer depths of one galaxy, only by a perception of knowledge, and necessity it was for you to state, only through the sheer madness of your own mind. So I'm gonna end the podcast short here, because I'm worried my microphone disconnected.